Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to jump into Lesson 2 of Pharr's Homeric Greek course and talk about the accents in ancient Greece. In ancient Greek, there are 3 accents. No accent can stand further back than what's called the antepenult, which is the third from the last syllable. So you have an acute accent over short or long vowels and diphthongs. It may stand on the ultima, the penult, or the antepenult. Kalos, daimon, anthropos. Then secondly, you have a circumflex, which can stand over vowels that are long by nature and diphthongs. It may stand on the ultima or the penult. Ge, dau, doron, tuto. And then the grave, which stands over short or long syllables and diphthongs. It stands on the ultima only. Ton andra, ten tuken, hoi te oi, des helados. The accent marks syllables pronounced in a raised tone. The grave is a low-pitched tone as contrast with the acute, and the circumflex combines both acute and grave. Pitch accents of ancient Greek. Accented syllables in ancient Greek had a higher pitch, tonos, than unaccented syllables, and it was the rising and falling of the pitch that made ancient Greek a musical language. The Greek word for accent is prosoidia, song accompanied by accompanying words. Musical accent, elevation and depression of tone, is to be distinguished from quantity, duration of tone, and from rhythmic accent, stress of voice at fixed intervals when there is a regular sequence of long and short syllables. The accent heard in modern Greek and English is a stress accent. Stress is produced by strong and weak expiration and takes account of accented syllables to the neglect of the quantity of unaccented syllables. Thus, shortly after Christ, anthropos was pronounced like a dactyl, pilos like a troche, and prosopon and enea were even written prosopon enea. Okay, the writing of accents. For improper diphthongs, the accents come over the first vowel if it is written in small letters, and before it if it is written as an initial capital followed by small letters. If the vowel or diphthong has both the accent and the breathing, the acute and grave follow the breathing, while the circumflex is placed over the breathing. Thus you have anax, husteron, hosepato, ipte. If the accented vowel is initial, the accent as well as the breathing stands over it if it is a small letter, and before it if it is a capital followed by small letters, as aedi, Olympos, but algos. If the entire word is written in capitals, both breathing and accents are omitted. The last syllable of a word is called the ultima, the last but one is called the penult, and the last but two is called the antepenult. The antepenult, when accented, must have an acute, but it cannot have the accent if the last syllable is long by nature, or if it ends in either a double consonant, xi or psi, helorion, heloriu. So you see the accent moves forward because the ou of the genitive is long, so it pulls the accent of elorion forward. to become eloriu. This is something you'll get used to as you work in Greek, and so it's pretty straightforward. Okay. An accented P note has a circumflex if it is long by nature, while the ultima is short by nature. So for you to have a circumflex on the second from the last syllable, the final syllable of the word has to be short. Okay? So skaptron. And an accented ultima may have an acute when short, as kalos, the acute or circumflex when long, suke, sukes. Final o I and oi are counted short when determining the accent, except in the optative, except in oikoi, the locative, at home, and mutoi, words, dalasai, seas. These diphthongs are regularly long in metrical quantity and must be so treated when reading the verse, although considered short when determining the accent. So these have a dual nature. For metrical purposes, they are long, but when figuring the accent, they are short. Okay? Verbs regularly have a recessive accent. That is, their accent is thrown as far back to the left as the rule of accent allows. Okay? There are exceptions to the recessive accent, and we'll treat those as we come upon them. The word with the acute on the last syllable is called oxytone, sharp-toned. Oxytones change the acute to the grave before other words not separated by punctuation marks in the same sentence, except before enclitics, elided syllables, or the interrogative pronoun tis, ti, as ana, but anastraton, up through the camp. Enclitics. An enclitic is a word which regularly loses its own accent and is pronounced as if it were a part of the preceding word. Okay? The word enclitikos means to lean backwards. So the enclitic leans backwards on the word before it. So, oionoisete, and for the birds, where te has lost its accent and has become attached to the last syllable of the preceding word. Okay. The enclitics are the personal pronouns, okay, which you'll learn down the road, and most importantly, the indefinite pronouns, like tis and te, some, any, something, anything. Okay? And we'll talk about those in a moment. The indefinite adverbs, pu, pe, poi, pothen, pote, pos, and pos. These words are indefinite as enclitics when they're indefinite, but when used as interrogatives, who, which, what, etc., they have the accent which they never lose. And we'll go into that in a second when we look into a chart of them. Okay. So you have, and this is a very important chart, one of the most important charts in Smythe. You have the chart of correlative pronouns. And correlative pronouns are related forms that serve different purposes in the sentence, but it's very important that you get a sense of the relation between the different functions that these forms serve, because they're all related, but they with slightly different purposes. So here, I want to direct your attention to the first two columns on the left. The interrogative or direct or indirect, and then the indefinite, which is the enclitic. This is where we want to put our attention. So the interrogative form asks the question, who? Who stole your bicycle? Whereas the indefinite is the exact same form, but it's enclitic in its accent, so you have to be paying attention to the accents to recognize it. And it just, as opposed to asking a question, it speaks of someone indefinite. Well, someone stole my bike. Who stole your bike? Someone stole my bike. Okay? And we'll see down the road the demonstrative, this, that, and the relative, who, which, and the indefinite relative, whoever. We'll see that we'll encounter those in the course as we meet them. But what's important here is to realize that you have these identical forms except for the fact that the indefinite form will be enclitic. And so you have who versus someone, which of two, or which of two, or which one of two, okay? Like one of the two men is blind, okay? Then you have pausos, how much? How much money do you have? And versus pausos, the enclitic, I have some quantity of money. And poios, of what sort is your car? Oh, it's of some sort, poios, the enclitic form. And then pelikos, how old are you? But pelikos, I'm of some age. So we'll see these working, but it's just important to recognize that these are probably the most vital of the enclitics to recognize, because you'll be looking at the same form, and only the accent will tell you which is which. But it's not only the accent, because generally the interrogative form will be first in this clause, and so they're really pretty easy to spot for that reason, besides the fact that they'll generate a question, so they have the question mark at them. But it's important. These charts are very important. These correlative pronouns at Smythe 340, and then the correlative adverbs at Smythe 346. And these are even more interesting because you have the interrogatives of place, of time, of way, and of manner. So you ask, where is the dog? Whence has he come? Whither has he gone? Okay. Then pote, when was he here? Okay. Penika, at what time? You don't see that very much, penika. But pe, which way, how did he run? And pos, how, how is he doing? Pos, or how are you going to get to Memphis? Okay. But these are different because they're not enclitic to words that have the very same form, okay, which mean, as opposed to where, pu means, as enclitic, means somewhere, as opposed to whence, pothen as enclitic means from some place, as opposed to whither, poi as an enclitic means to some place, and as opposed to when, pote as an enclitic means sometime or ever at one point. And then pay as enclitic means some way or somehow, and pos as enclitic means somehow. Somehow I'll get the money. Okay? So again, you have the fact that the interrogative form will generally be first in its clause, and the enclitic form will generally follow a word in its clause, and will show that change of accent that affects the clitics. But it's very important, these two charts of correlative adverbs and correlative pronouns. One should, I would say, make a copy of it, make a large copy of it, and put it up on your wall where you work on your Greek, so you have easy reference to it. Because although this chart is kind of intimidating to look at, it's a great aid because you'll see these words, or some of these little words, these tiny little words, on any page of Greek that you read. Okay? Now, in addition to the enclitics that we've seen so far, also the present indicative of the verb to be and of the verb say are enclitics as well. So you will see when we see forms of eme, which and peme, we'll see that those can be enclitics as well. Okay, but not in the third plural or the second singular. Okay. Then you have these particles that are enclitics: get, te, toi, per, nun, ka, tain, ra. And we'll see those and deal with them as we actually see them in Homer. And then you have this pronominal suffix, de and te, which occur here and there, which are also enclitics. Okay? So that the last you see, ete, aite, those are used to introduce wishes contrary to fact. Oh, I wish that I won the lottery tomorrow. Okay? So what this boils down to is that, you'll have the same, you'll have an expression like tis ame, who am I? But you see that tis, who, is first in its clause. But then you have ametis, where tis does not have an accent, so it's marked as an enclitic, and the eme shows that the acute on the second iota. So ametis, I am someone, indefinite. Just like you have pu erkomai, where am I going, versus erkomai pu, I am going somewhere. So it's kind of subtle, and you have to be aware of, have your eyes out for both the accentuation and the placement in the clause in order to be able to tell these interrogative words from these enclitic words. But I used to always, when I was beginning, just tell myself enclitic, indefinite, enclitic, indefinite, enclitic, indefinite, enclitic, indefinite, so that you know that when you come across an enclitic form of one of these words, you're dealing with the indefinite. Okay? Now, Smythe exposits the behavior of enclitics in all of its glorious detail in sections 181 to 187. And you might look at that. I remember learning about enclitics and having to read those sections again and again and again to get it straight in my mind how they behave. And there's no shame in that. Okay? So this lesson ends with vocabulary. Again, this vocabulary is all related to the opening lines of the Iliad that we'll be looking at in a couple weeks. So we have boule, dene, en, ein, eke, ekusen, ein, esan, kai, kake, kale, klange, tis, te, kruse, and pile. Okay? And again, you might want to make flashcards of these to get a jump on them and start learning the vocabulary that we'll be actually seeing soon. Okay, so that's lesson 2, and good luck with your studies. I suggest for this lesson that you simply listen to this video again, because this with the accents is just going to be, you will see it every time we deal with a word, so it's not really anything to memorize. It's just concepts to be aware of, the most important being the idea of the enclitics and the 3 types of accent, and with the attempt to pronounce Greek using the restored pronunciation, which is recognizing the pitch accents. And there is a YouTube presenter, and his page is Podium-Arts, and he's I'll give the link in the description here, and I think he's the best at presenting the reconstructed pronunciation of Greek, along with Kostas, who I referred to in lesson 1. So there are a couple people on YouTube who are doing a very good job of representing the pitch accent, and so I would refer you to them if you want a taste of the best pronunciation that's out there. Again, because I don't necessarily think mine's that good. But okay, have a good day and good luck with your studies. Keep working hard.